Coming up next on The Jeff Crilley Show, he makes horror films for a living and he's so talented, it's scary. His journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I got to confess, I'm more of a rom-com guy than a horror film guy, but I have so much respect for the people who do it well. We've all seen horror films where it fell flat, they were being too heavy-handed, it was too obvious. So there's an art to scaring people. To talk about that today, Damien LeVeck. He is with Skubalon Entertainment. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. When did you know you wanted to make movies?
Well, I'm a very fortunate person because from the age of 12, I pretty much knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. It sounds like a cliche, but I was watching Star Wars and Indiana Jones and those sorts of movies and thought to myself, I don't know how they do that, but that's what I want to do. I want to make movies. I want to entertain people.
And so the classic way to get into the business is to move to Hollywood. Is that what you did? How did you get into it?
That's what I did. I went to USC Film School. I lived in LA for 22 years. And I just started from the ground up. And I would encourage everybody that wants to get into entertainment to do the same if they're starting out young, especially. I think being in LA is very important.
Wow. And what would you say your first gig was?
My first gig was working on a documentary with the actor Ethan Hawke. It was a documentary about Gregory Corso, the Beat Generation poet. And I had the privilege of producing a film shoot with him in New York City and working with him very closely, and it was a great pleasure. He's very talented and a very sweet guy.
That's really cool. Let's go ahead and pull up Skubalon Entertainment's website and scroll down the website. Talk about the projects that you like to tackle, because you've made several award-winning films. Are you always kind of writing in your mind? Are you looking at ideas saying, man, that would be a great one for next time?
Yeah, ideas ebb and flow, and the frequency of them definitely vacillates. But of course, I'm always looking for new ideas. In fact, until recently, I was accepting open submissions from other writers on my website, and that's how we found our last 2 movies, in fact, that we're making. I have a very specific taste. There's a lot of subgenres in horror, and I don't want to make slasher movies, for example. I'm more into supernatural horror. I'm more into psychological horror. There's of course blood and gore in my movies, but it's not a movie that you go to with the point of seeing something like that, like Terrifier, for example.
So I want you to set the stage. We're about to show the trailer for The Cleansing Hour. Set the stage for this because you won awards. It was really one of the most successful titles for your distributor of all time. So tell us about the trailer we're about to watch.
Yeah, well, the backstory is that this was based on a short film that I did back in 2018, and the short film went around the world to different festivals. It did very well. We won lots of awards, and then I used it as a pitch to basically finance the feature-length version of the movie. And I would say that anyone who wants to go and make a feature film, that would be the reason to make a short. Don't make a short just for the sake of making a short. It's a waste of money. But anyway, so we made the feature film. We shot for 19 days in Romania and 2 days in LA, and we released it in 2019, and it is on Shudder now, and it is one of Shudder's highest-rated exorcism films.
It's amazing. Let's go ahead and roll the trailer.
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, I command you to give me your name.
And cut. Nice job, everybody. Good job.
I gotta think, man.
Follow monitors. Let me lead.
All right, everybody, here we go. 3, 2.
going to go off script.
Amazing. All right, as a writer and director, do you kind of know when you've got the take? I mean, do alarm bells go off in your head and you say, okay, I got it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's more a factor of me being an editor. I've been editing film and TV for over 20 years. And when you're an editor, you're looking at every frame very meticulously, and you're often wondering, where's that shot of this or where's that shot of that the director or the producer that was making the TV show or whatever that you're working on didn't shoot. So I shoot very efficiently. I rarely do more than 2 or 3 takes, and we move on.
I think maybe all directors need to be editors first.
I think it would be helpful. It's a useful skill.
Well, and continuity is a big thing. We've all watched movies where you have the actor and the actress, and the sun is on their face, and then in the next scene it's cloudy, and then it's sun again.
Yeah.
So talk about continuity and how difficult that is to master.
Well, if you're trying to make a shot look nice, you generally are more concerned about where the sun is. You want people to be backlit, and you're not necessarily as concerned about continuity whenever it comes to lighting, when it comes to daylight scenes like that. And of course, you can balance some of that out with lights, outdoor lights. But when it comes to script continuity and whether the glass was half full or whether the cigarette was all the way burned, that's something that you need a good script supervisor for. It is definitely not my script strong suit, and a good scriptie is invaluable on set. You want someone who's experienced and very detail oriented.
Wow, I'm fascinated by that. Let's go ahead and pull up his IMDb because it's really impressive. Your career spans now 20 years. Tell us, what are some of the highlights so far? Because you're still a young man.
Yeah, well, I launched my production company, Skubalon, off the back of The Cleansing Hour, and since then we've made another horror film that we released last year called A Creature Was Stirring, starring Chrissy Metz and Scout Taylor Compton. And we're developing another one now that's an Amish horror. That's the next one we're going to film, hopefully soon. And, we're branching out. We have a slate of pictures that we're developing, not all horror. I don't want to only do horror.
Sure.
And in the meantime, I'm making a living as an editor. I edited a Netflix series this year called The Mole, Season 2. I did an Amazon pilot about it's called One Championship, which is the UFC of Asia. And I also did a feature-length documentary. So I've been very busy as an editor as well.
Well, famously, the Blair Witch Project just kind of shattered all kinds of records. I don't know how much they put into it, but the return for the investors was, 1,000 times what they put into it. But what that also did, I suppose, in the horror film arena is legitimize that independent films are where the action is.
Yeah, indies, especially in horror, because horror is one of the only genres where original stories are being told, right? So you can go and tell your own story that isn't based on a book or a comic book or something like that. Make your movie, do it on a low budget, and then they can go gangbusters. And that's what everybody's been chasing. And this is what Jason Blum figured out very early on when he acquired Paranormal Activity and then watched that movie explode. He started an entire studio on that model. Let's just make the movies for less money, have a good script, and then release them and see how they do. And that is the reason he understands why horror has been the most profitable genre easily for the last 20 or 30 years.
Let's talk about the film industry in Texas, because I've been told that it's much more affordable than trying to shoot in LA.
Pretty much anything is more affordable than trying to shoot in LA. LA is just, it's egregious, the kinds of hoops that you have to jump through in order to make a movie in Los Angeles. Texas is getting there. They have an incentive. It needs some work. The problem with the Texas film incentive is that there's a $3 million minimum expenditure, so you can't actually take advantage of it until you've spent $3 million. Whereas in Kentucky, where I made my last movie, there's a $100,000 minimum.
Wow.
And it's also, you can also save significantly more, 30 to 35% on all qualified expenditures, which is, Texas, I think, is 20 to 25%. So I've been talking to certain people in the legislature, and I'm trying to push them, hey guys, if you want to bring Hollywood Hollywood to Texas, you got to compete with not just other states, but the rest of the world. I mean, I made my first movie in Romania, and Eastern Europe has just exploded as a production hub.
And as you pointed out, Hollywood doesn't really take any chances, do they? They kind of remake old, sitcoms from the 60s and turn it into a movie. All the original stuff is coming from independent films.
Very few chances, that's true. I mean, one of the best movies of the year is a horror film called The Substance. And it was quasi-independent. It was financed by Universal, and then Universal got rid of it. But otherwise, for all intents and purposes, it's a French film. We'll just call it independent. And horror movies, all the great horror movies that came out this year, for the most part, were independent. And I would say that, yes, if you want to tell a unique story, it should be a horror film, and you should find distribution for it.
Okay, I know every movie maker I've ever met is always looking for investors. So if there's somebody watching this right now who says, man, I might want to get involved in Damien's next project, do they reach out to you through the website, or what happens?
Yeah, you can reach out to me from my website, SkubalonEntertainment.com. I'm very easy to find online. I don't hide my email address. Anybody can reach out. And, the film investment is risky, but it's fun, and that's what I try and sell people. This is an experience. You get to be a part of the whole process. You get to be there along with casting, be on set, meet the talent, go to the premiere, go to the film festivals, and then, of course, be an executive producer on the movie and have your name on screen. So there's a whole kit and caboodle that goes along with it, and even though it's a very risky investment, I want people to get involved, to have fun and be a part of it with me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us. We're going to end with the website, which is SkubalonEntertainment.com. The great Damien LeVeck. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.